Everybody has their own story, but
Right.
the gist is the same.
Right.
And it gave me like it kind of compensates you that you're not alone in the boat. So everybody goes through it. Like when you are struggling and there is no return, you might feel depressed, like why me always? So it's not you always, it's everybody. It's everybody, like it's the way of life.
But the best part is how they overcome them and that people help them. Yeah. I was actually thinking like, oh my God, I've been there. This is exactly my story. That maybe theirs is worse depending on in which situation they were in, or maybe mine was worse.
That's it. Oh yeah, and they share a story, and they totally connected with our storytellers. This story here is people that identify with the whole language barrier. So it's a lot of people that said, yeah, we totally get what you were going through. We know it's hard to come here and try to go outside and meet people and greet people and try to make conversation in the bus, but you don't know the language, how can you do that? Some people making comments about, you know, it'll be good if they tell us ahead of time that maybe here they're more close. You know, people are not as, at least I come from a country where you just scream in the street, right? People are like, I'm here and you're over there, I'm like, yo! Right?
Yeah.
So here that doesn't happen very often, so people reflecting on that particular issue. And then all of this is the whole reflection about either, again, that cultural shock, or just people moving from city to city. Like how they can relate to your stories by their experiences of moving from one city to another, or just going to some place new, starting college. How that can be a whole new city within itself. University can be a whole new city within itself. And here we have some questions, and I want to start with the questions because I want to get a chance for you two to answer those questions, and then we'll do a circle. Sounds good? Okay, so.
I did want to ask one question. My wife comes from China, and the most difficult thing for her has been to try to stay in contact with her family and friends because it is so difficult for her family to come to visit Canada. And I'm certainly noticing that in my office as well. People, new Canadians, just have huge difficulties bringing their family in for important events like a wedding or a funeral, the birth of a new child. I wanted to get a sense what the impact has been on each of you of really not being able to see your family unless you go back home. And for often very valid reasons, you can't necessarily go back home, but you can't bring family members here even for a short visit without an incredible series of obstacles you have to overcome. So is that something that's impacted you?
Okay. Particularly for Mexico, I think the challenge right now is there's a visitor visa process that they have to go through. So it's becoming more challenging to have them here. It's not that hard of a process, but it would take at least a good month to get there. So it's not very easy for them to just come here any second or any time as they used to before. And I would say more so for my wife, that's usually women are more attached to their families. That it's just something that makes it more challenging, I would say.
Hearing what happened when they got here, especially around the training and the education and having to do it all over again, and I thought, that's not right, and I could feel my anger going. I mean, why did this happen, and how did it happen, and what kind of, why wasn't this made clear?
Yeah. We can meet the qualification. That's why the reason why we were accepted actually as an immigrant, because of our skills. And yet when we are actually applying, we said, where's your Canadian experience? And we are just new here. It's a chicken egg situation maybe for us.
You were welcomed with open arms, but then you started to hit the roadblocks, and reality set in.
That's what happened.
Yeah, there should have been maybe more information provided.
So my question to the two speakers here is, have you been or have you tried to belong to service groups, and how were you treated?
Yeah, as soon as I arrive, I find not very far from the place where I live, where I send the kids, and I become volunteer. I do some volunteer job with them, taking care of my kids and the place where they daycare. And also I do volunteer with the Salvation Army with the food bank. But I'm better asking myself, looking for a full-time job, and I'm 54 years old.
So again, volunteering, working in places that you don't want to. And it was hard. It was hard, but that's how you get started. And the negative side on my part was my age. I was not young. Like, I started pretty late. So it is hard, like when you are supposed to settle, but still you are moving from one place to another and don't know people, don't know where to go. It is hard. But in our country, you say it as, turtles bite. Like, when turtles bite, they don't let go. So you have to do that. Like, don't give up hope.
If they were working with a new immigrant, what was the one thing that they would like that new immigrant to know?
For that. And when I meet a newcomer, I always tell them that Canada will make you emotionally, physically, spiritually, and mentally strong. Those are 4 things that I have learned and have seen in people, new immigrants who have come. These are 4 things that Canada will give you.
When you're at your lowest, that's when you get your determination, and that's when you, whether it's because of your kids or because for your own self-preservation, but that's when you start to move mountains, because out of such a hard time comes all your strength and determination. I just think that was such a common experience that I heard from everybody.